Alright, part 2. First and foremost, the most important thing, I believe, of taming a monitor is resisting doing what you want to do. As soon as you get yourself a new monitor, you want to bring all your mates around and pull it out and show them. Every 5 minutes you just want to do something to the enclosure and drag it out. Now, a monitor, when it's born, it hides itself into a small spot and it hides from all sorts of predators. Birds of prey, dogs, cats, humans, cars, everything. So everything bigger than it in its eyes is out to eat it. So what you've got to do is build it an enclosure, whether it be a monitor that's from an arid area that's very dry, or whether it be a monitor that lives in rainforest style areas. Or what you do need is to have shitloads of hide spots so that it can find the appropriate area that it can jam itself into, or the area, one that's a bit warmer than the other, and you have a nice big bowl of water. And what happens is you put the monitor in its new enclosure, and guess what? You never see the friggin' thing. You start to get itchy feet. It's like owning a brand new car and not being able to touch it. Now what happens is, here we have a little female lace monitor that's been put in her enclosure. We hadn't seen her for a little bit, and then all of a sudden they start to get a bit cocky and they venture out in the middle of the night and they'll steal a bit of food. Now this process will take about 12 months or more. What you cannot do is, once this monitor has found a spot that it considers its safe house, its little security blanket, never go ripping it out of that hide box or its log or under it, wherever it is it might be, because then it will discard that as a safe house and it will be stressed out, and then it will become defensive. Now, like us guys, if a tiger comes flying at us to have a go, sure, we do everything we can to save ourselves, and that's what this guy's going to do. He'll start to tail whip, bite, and do everything he's got to do, and he'll learn that that's the way it works. And all of a sudden, you're training a monitor to grow up to attack these humans, to defend itself, to do what has to be done. Once you've had a few months worth of letting the monitor move around the enclosure at its own pace without ever bothering in any which way, shape or form, you do silly things like this. Now, I can't see that monitor in there, but I'm sure she can hear the door being opened. There's a bit of poo. So I'll just reach my hand in there carefully and slowly, and I'll lift the poo out and I'll throw it in the bin. And I'll close the door again. And that monitor would have seen and thought, okay, it's not so bad. You do that a couple of 100 times to the point where you get your hands in and you just move the substrate around. Now that monitor can see you actually doing that, or if it can't see you, it can smell you. Also, it will come out later on tonight and venture around and smell all your smell on the substrate and think, well, a human has been here. Now we're at the stage here with this little female where she'll cruise on out and she'll sun herself. Not while the TV's on, not while we're cooking dinner, and not while there's a whole heap of action, but when we've turned everything off. Once I've walked out and I see her there, she doesn't run away, she just lays low and stays still. She's done that about 10 times now, and she'll soon learn that I'm not the boogeyman, I'm not the bad person. Anyway, once you've done that a couple of 1,000 times, we'll get to the point where she'll start to slowly venture out in the area where, or in the time when you are being pretty busy cooking dinner and doing everything. Then it gets to the point where, like Tiger and all the rest of them, as soon as it hears or sees humans, it doesn't refer to them as a threat or a danger. It then goes, oh, there's those big ugly bastards that give me food, or there's those guys that let me out of my enclosure. So they look at you as a good thing rather than a bad thing. Now, then you don't go skull dragging them out of your house or out of their enclosure. You let them venture. You'll find that they'll venture out 20 centimetres and then run back in. A couple of weeks later, they'll venture out 50 centimetres and run back in. Then it'll get to the point where they'll walk to the end of your hallway and then think, oh, that's a long way away, and then they'll go back to the enclosure, till finally they've covered every square inch of your house and they're starting to look outside. So it gets to the point where they learn that this is their territory, their enclosure is their bed, where they do their poo, where they eat and where they go to sleep, and the rest of the house is theirs. Anyway, that's a brief touch. There'll be part 3 soon.